Hey, what's up, everybody? Pat here, grateful recovering alcoholic and addict, just like every day, my friends. Guys, welcome to today's video. Please don't forget to subscribe, give the video a like, leave me a comment, and by all means, share it with anybody that might get something out of it. The channel's been starting to grow a little bit again, so to all the new subscribers, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. As we have been doing so often lately, guys, we're going to talk about the Just for Today and a meditation. I love, and again, I switch it up when I feel that it's too boxy or not necessarily applicable to a video. Then I go to the AA daily reflection, or I talk about, or if I come across a particular lesson during the day, then I'll go over that. But just gotta give you guys an idea where I get the format. So today it is meeting the day's challenges, and again, we've been talking, it's kind of hand in hand with what we've been talking about a lot lately. And I want to take a minute to say that yesterday, you guys watched yesterday's video. I think it was pretty clear that I was extremely frustrated. I was having a bad day with my teeth, and it was very, very difficult for me to reset and let myself get past it. But I did, and after I made my video, I said, you know what, I need some lightheartedness. So I watched funny memes for about 2 hours last night, and wow, what a difference, guys. It took the pressure off, and as the frustration level let go and the pain started to drop down, I had been intentionally looking at my blessings all day. And let me tell you, guys, I woke up today feeling like $1,000,000. My teeth are still a little uncomfortable, but I'm going back in for my adjustment on Thursday. And again, it'll be another learning curve after that. But it's steady progress, and I'm also seeing that every day I can talk a little bit better and talk a little bit better. I was just watching one of my a TikTok video I made the day that I got them, and I'm like, oh, it was tough, But again, that's why I come on here and do this thing, guys, to be vulnerable and show you guys that again, you gotta show up every day. And when you're making improvements in your life, there's gonna be those trials and tribulations, and there's gonna be those growing pains, and there's gonna be those in between learning moments, and you just gotta. It's part of life, guys. And if you want to proceed and propel forward, you've got to be willing to do the work and willing to deal with the in between and the trials and tribulations that come along with it. But that being said, so meeting the day's challenges, the decision to ask God for help is our greatest source of strength and courage. Is the headline, and then it goes on to another paragraph we won't get into, but. Again, it's so incredibly easy to adapt that to my life, guys. To say that I growing up, I used to try to say that I was a non-believer because early on in a small town, I was raised Catholic, and it was incredibly hypocritical. We had a couple of shitty priests that were whatever the whole priesthood back in the 80s and 70s thing, and I was never abused or anything like that, but I was an altar boy because my grandmother wanted me to be, and I saw the ugly side of it, and priests that were just complete assholes when they weren't on the on the pulpit, and the hypocrisy of it just kind of pushed me away. And again, I talk about all the time. If you get something out of organized religion, good for you. Take what's there, but stop the bullshit in between. Mine's better than yours. Yours is this is the only way. None of that could possibly be true if you think about it, guys. Use common sense. But again. So because of that, at an early age, I was very impressionable. You guys know my story. I kind of had a hard time. I didn't have a lot of parents. I didn't have a lot of guidance. So it pushed me away. So for a number of years, I actually called myself a half-assed atheist. And yet, when I look back on that, guys, I still believed it was incredibly important to be a good person. I believe that you could, if you went out ripping and robbing and screwing people over, there were repercussions, and you couldn't be that way. And the other thing I wouldn't do, guys, when I knew I was doing wrong, I wouldn't pray. I wouldn't pray for help because I knew I would get it. And that right there is belief, guys. That's faith. I had faith even when I thought I didn't. Because I didn't, and that's the whole thing, guys. I didn't necessarily have and I still don't have a real definition of it. But I've got a much better understanding of it today because I'm an adult, and I've put experience together, and I'm going by my experience. But I always thought I never believed in anything. But again, like I said, I was I had faith because I believe it was important that we had to be good to each other, and we wanted to, not screw each other. I just went over that anyway. But again, that was faith, and being afraid to pray when I knew I was doing wrong, that was belief. Now, it was when I finally surrendered this time around that's when I found alignment, guys. And here's the thing: for those of you that don't know, I was an active, drug addict. I haven't had a drink in 24, 25, coming up on 25 years now. As a matter of fact, in July 1st, will be 25 years. But I immediately put down the alcohol and picked up cocaine, and then cocaine turned into opiates. Opiates turned into heroin. Heroin turned into fentanyl. At one point, I spent 4 years living on the street. Just a mess. Just miserable, using meth, cocaine, crack, basically anything I could get my hands on, and it was just incredibly miserable. It was terrible. It was the most. I can't believe I was able to pull myself out of it. And the only way I was able to pull myself out of it was by getting myself put in jail. I had to literally get myself locked up in jail to get off the drugs, to get my head clear, and say, "What are you doing?" Like I'm one of the most talented mechanics, and really I'm one of those people that can pick up anything mechanically inclined and be a master at it in minutes. I mean, I don't say that to be cocky. It's proven fact. I mean, I've done it over and over again. And yet here I am, not going in and one of my favorite things to do is to work. I enjoy work. And yet here, the drugs have gotten the better of me. And it was all because of, me being stubborn and pig-headed and refusing to ask for help, because at one point I was going through a bad time and my family wouldn't, put me up for a night. And because of that, I walked away and didn't speak to them for 6 or 8 years. I'm sorry, 4 years, right? And it was insane, guys. I literally lived on the street. When I had family, that probably would have, I could have done something, but I chose not to because I was being pig-headed, hard-headed, and I wasn't asking for help, and I wasn't being believing. I didn't have any belief in myself at that point, and I didn't have any belief in a higher power, and I didn't have a relationship with a higher power. Now, once I got locked up that time around, I got to a halfway house. I got here to Somerville. I was doing really well. And I relapsed, and then I got married when I shouldn't have, and I married somebody else that was struggling with alcoholism. She was somebody who drank really, really hard, and it was just a shit show. But I worked really, really hard, so I was able to keep myself just teetering on the edge of going back into complete forfeited fixture. And it just got worse and worse. But again, I worked so hard, and that's why by the end of this, 7 years later, I'm working 80 hours a week to pay 3 drug dealers. My wife had gotten sober, and now she left, and she's back out in Vegas. She's now my ex-wife, and we're good friends. And I'm just so happy that she got sober, and she's back with her family, and she's doing well. And then I went completely off the rails, right? Because now I had nobody. I at least had to hide the drugs from her. Well, suddenly I didn't have anybody to hide them from, and so now I'm doing heroin all day, smoking crack all night. Not sleeping for 16 days at a time, going to work every day, nodding out the wheel. Just, guys, it's amazing I didn't hurt anybody or kill myself or kill anybody else, and I'm so incredibly grateful. That being said, I only say this to let you guys know where I'm coming from. And literally, I started talking to somebody online, and fortunately, she asked me, she's like, "When's the last time you said a prayer?" And I'm like, "I haven't said a prayer in 10 years or better." She's like, "Why don't you say one with me tonight?" And I did. And I meant it. I actually I don't know where it came from, guys. I was just, I could feel myself starting to circle the drain, and I wanted better so badly. I just didn't know how to get there. And that one night of saying that prayer, it felt so good, right? It felt so good that every night I would say another prayer. And again, here I am still getting high and still, doing all the bullshit that I was doing. But I was asking for help. I was asking God to show me his path for me and to let me walk in his light. And guys, every day the desire gets stronger and the desire gets stronger. And that little voice in the back of my head saying, "You got to get off these drugs," got louder and louder, and to the point where it was a scream, right? And work was it was getting worse, and I'm like, it finally got to a point, guys. I was sitting here with a big pile of drugs in front of me, and I couldn't get high. I couldn't do it. I was breaking down, crying, and I just, starting to feel emotions, and it was God coming in and giving me the help that I needed, right? So I convinced myself I could detox here at home by myself. I laid in bed for 3 days, thinking 3 days I'll be okay, and that wasn't the case, guys. When you're on a 7-gram heroin, fentanyl habit for, the better part of a decade, you need help. And thank God my landlord saw my truck hadn't moved, and he, called, and I had so much, I was damn near dead, and he called the authorities, and they came and kicked in the door and brought me to the hospital, and anyway, I got myself into rehab the next day. And but again, first 12 days in rehab, I just laid in bed. I'd get up to eat and piss and use the bathroom, and that was it. Literally, I was an absolute dying mess. I was really scared at that point, guys, thinking my brain wasn't going to come back and that my body wasn't going to come back. I was 51 years old now, and weak and just, yeah, it was bad. Brain fog, and it was scary, right? It really was. I thought maybe I'd done too much damage, that I might have, I might have surpassed where I could come back from. But as I started to get clear, I started to pray more, and then I found a book on scientific prayer, which I actually now own. Fantastic book. You guys are interested, let me know in the comments, and I'll let you know what it is. But I started reading that, and I really got into that, and I started studying the art of prayer and the scientific art of prayer, and I realized that the more I prayed, the stronger I got, the more desire I had, and like my faith was coming back hard, guys, right? So I started asking God. I said, God, if you give me a shot, I will dedicate my life to you. I will, I feel, and little guys, the intuitive messages that I was getting before I got off the drugs were, if you put down the drugs, I will remove all negativity from your heart. And guys, I was an absolutely miserable ball of negativity. I just had no spark left in me whatsoever. And by the time I left rehab, I started realizing that everybody around me was amazed at how positive I was. And I'm like, wow. And I'm like, Mom, God said He was going to remove the negativity from my heart. And I started to pay attention. I started saying, wow, this is everything I was hearing. Like, maybe there's something going on here. Like, I have not been forgotten. I have not been forsaken. I've been heard. And it was amazing, guys. And like, I was getting emotional. I couldn't even talk in rehab. My voice would start to crack up. Like, I started feeling. I was given hope. And that's powerful, right? So, I get a little emotional to talk about it now, right? But, you guys know my story. It's been pretty amazing since. So, I went 10 toes down. I got the idea for the channel, and I said, all right, God, I'll do it. I'll get out. And again, the day that I got out of rehab, guys, I came back and I was cleaning my apartment. I found a rock of crack, and I threw it right in the pipe, and I smoked it. And I'm like, whoa. I literally hadn't even realized what I was doing. It was just a force of habit. And so what I did was get out of the house, and I walked across the street. And lo and behold, here's this girl who just locked her keys out of her car a mile up the road. And she's going to walk 3 miles to hopefully find a client and hopefully at AAA. And I was looking up an address on my phone. I had my headphones in, and it was going on. But I hit, you need an address. So yeah, I'll Google it for you. So I gave her directions to get there, and as I saw her start walking, this is back in, it was just January 6th. Freezing cold here in Boston, right? 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, girl, you walking? She's like, yeah, I got no choice. And I said, well, shit, I can give you a ride. And she's like, oh my God, if you wouldn't mind, by all means. So I come over, I grab my truck, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I had headphones in. I don't know what's going on. What's the issue you're having? And she explained to me that she had locked her keys in her car at a house up the road here, and she needed to go find a client and hopefully at AAA. And I'm like, you know what? I think I have AAA. So I looked up, and my AAA had expired at that point, right? So I was going to renew my AAA. Just got a debit, rehab. Didn't have had cash on me, my debit card, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, what kind of car is it? And she told me it was a Subaru, frameless. I'm like, shit, I'm a mechanic. I could open the door in seconds. And she's like, oh my God. So I did. I went and I grabbed a couple of tools. I actually made one that I knew would work for what I needed. I drove her over to her car, and literally, guys, inside of 5 seconds, I had her car unlocked. And this girl was just, almost in tears. She was so happy. It's freezing cold, 9 o'clock at night, nobody around, you know what I mean? And God put that girl in my life because I was in a shame spiral for having taken that hit of crack. And then here I am going, oh my God, all the work I've done, am I going to go backwards here? I was so deflated. And then I saw I could be of service to somebody else, and immediately, like, boom, pumped me right back up. I felt good. And I said, okay, this is lit. And that's when I started paying attention, guys. This is what I mean by living spiritually. I started understanding that every single thing that was happening in my life was a sign, particularly that early on, because I was lost. I was a lost sheep asking for help. And God was giving me help at every step of the way. So again, I went 10 toes down. I said, all right, God, I promised you I would do this. And the intuitive nudge I was getting was to start my YouTube channel. I started my YouTube channel the next day, and I think I missed one night. I didn't post a video early on because I thought I was still figuring things out. But I said, no, consistency, and I'm going to do it. And I posted a video every day since, guys. And if you watch my early videos, look at the difference. Look at the blessings that have come into my life. I walked away from a shit job, started my own business. I got a $40,000 pickup truck for $5,000 that I was able to work off. I got help with rent to pay my back rent, and also help me open the business. Picking up new clients left and right. I got a scholarship to Harvard University. I'm taking 2 classes at Harvard right now, and I put on 50 pounds. I go to the gym every day. I saw the dermatologist. I got that thing that was on my face cut off. I got teeth in my mouth now. I've come so far in 5 months. I don't say this to brag. But I'm saying this because that's what happens when you ask God for help. It becomes your greatest strength, and it fills you with courage. It allows you to remove your own inequities, your own limiting beliefs, your own insecurities, your own inefficiency and deficiencies. It allows you to remove them from the equation. And it opens the door for supernatural blessings, because you start to understand that you are part of something larger than yourself. And that's certainly what's happened for me. So it's made me want to engage, guys. I was somebody that, like, I just wanted to be invisible. Everywhere I went, I was on a mission. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I didn't want to tell nobody nothing. Today, I share my story at every opportunity I can, because I'm incredibly proud. And God has brought to my knowledge that I'm one of the few people that survived the depths of hell that I've survived. Not many people go to prison 15 times, live 4 years on the street homeless, and then go on to open a business and go to school at Harvard. Have perfect health after 2 overdoses, high-speed chases with, I hit a telephone pole at 120 miles an hour. I was on a motorcycle, I hit a car at 170. I walked away from both of these guys. Like, I've lived some very supernatural experiences. And then I started looking at even the last 8 years of my using. I got away with, so many things that would normally be pitfalls that would have put me back into prison. None of that happened. So it allowed me to get to a point now where I've got 10 years without a conviction. I can get my record expunged. God was setting me up for this comeback all along. I believe that I just had to get that level of experience of hell that I could relate with every single person I ever will run into in my life. I mean, guys, I've been to the lowest lows. I've had to, sell my body, sell my soul, sell my mind. You know what I mean? There's pretty much no tragedy. I've been shot at, I've been stabbed, I've been imprisoned, I've been falsely imprisoned. Like, I've been through pretty much every tragedy that any person you will ever meet has been through, and I've overcome it. And I've got the experience, I've got the strength, and I've got the resiliency that comes with that. And I realize what such a gift that is, which is why I get on here and I post every day, and I go to meetings every day, and I go to speaking commitments. And I've made recovery my lifestyle, because that's the promise I made to God, because God has kept every promise He's made me. And He's made me promises, and all I get now is, I can't tell you what's coming because you'd be too scared to show up for it. And guys, if you look at the last 5 months, if you told me 5 months ago I'd be doing what I'm doing right now with going to school at Harvard and having the business, and I would have believed that, I wouldn't have believed it, period. And it might have overwhelmed me and put me back into using. So doing this beautiful dance by asking God for help, and then showing up every day and just doing the best I can without expecting results, and allowing Him to feed me my next steps, is working so incredibly well, because it's allowing me to reach heights faster than I ever would have dreamed. It's already allowing me to exceed places that I've ever gotten to in my life, and I've done this in 5 months. Not even quite 5 months. Next week I'll have 5 months. It's absolutely nothing short of miraculous, which is why I get on here and I share. Guys, I think that's pretty much the lesson. I don't think I get to half of it, but again, that's what happens when I just start trying to share. What I'm trying, and that's the whole thing, guys. This is me sharing what's worked for me, and hoping that all you can take something out of it and apply it to your life in some way, shape, or form, or share it with somebody else that might be able to apply it into their life in some way, shape, or form. But guys, when you consistently ask God for help and then show up and follow the nudges and the opportunities that He affords you, and take the leaps of faith as they come, be willing to step out of your comfort zone, be willing to help anybody you can along the way, it is absolutely nothing short of miraculous what will happen in your life. Guys, always remember, God loves you. I love you so very much. If nobody else has told you that today, well, now I have. Everybody deserves to hear that at least once a day, if not continuously throughout the day. Guys, be blessed. Be the best version of you possibly can, and then challenge yourself to get better tomorrow. And we'll see you in the next one.